Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel Edophilia. In today's video, we will be discussing the chapter Structural Organization in Animals, in which we will be majorly discussing about tissues. So learning about tissues and understanding their types forms the basis of zoology. The basic definition of tissues which we have learnt in our lower classes is that it is a group of cells which have similar structure, functions, and they function together as unit. So tissue is something, it is a group of cells which are similar in structure, origin and function. This was the typical definition that we have seen in our lower classes. But the definition that is given in our NCERT is this. So tissue is nothing but cells plus the intercellular matrix. So in your NCERT, this is how they have defined tissues. In multicellular organisms, tissues is a group of similar cells along with intercellular substance which perform a specific function. So be very careful. Tissue is just not group of cells performing a similar function, but it also includes the intercellular matrix. So cells form the living component of tissue, and the matrix, the intercellular substance, forms the non-living component of the tissue. So my aim is to make you understand the lines of NCERT. So talking about the matrix, it can be either high or low. It is high in connective tissues and low in epithelial tissues. Okay. So as we saw, there are four types of tissues: epithelial tissue, connective tissue, muscular tissue and neural tissue. So let's talk about the origin of these four tissues. Epithelial tissue is originated from all three layers, that is, all three layers give rise to the epithelial tissue, whereas connective tissue and muscular tissue are mesodermal in origin. Neural tissue is ectodermal in origin. So when I say brain, when I say spinal cord, they are all composed of neural tissue. So brain, spinal cord, they're all ectodermal in origin. Similarly, when I say blood or lymph, it is a connective tissue. So they are mesodermal in origin. When I say gonads, when I say muscles, when I say spleen, when I say kidney, they are all made up of certain type of muscles. So they are again mesodermal in origin. Heart, made up of the cardiac tissue. It is again muscular tissue. So it is again mesodermal in origin. So for those who didn't understand what this means, what these germ layers are all about, so first I would like to explain that there is a process called gastrulation. This you will learn in the chapter Human Reproduction in class 12. Gastrulation is nothing but the process where the implanted blastula forms three germ layers, which is the outer ectoderm, middle mesoderm and inner endoderm. So we are talking about origin. So this origin means where the organs develop from which germ layer. So the germ layers derivatives. So now I hope you are able to understand the three germ layers. So I will soon upload a shorts, okay, on tricks to identify the origin of different organs, that is from which germ layer each organ have been derived. Okay, so let's get back to our topic. Firstly, let's dive into the topic of epithelial tissue. So one important point about epithelial tissue is that they are avascular, meaning that there is no blood supply to this tissue. Epithelial tissue has a free surface which either faces the body fluid or the outside environment. The main function of the epithelial tissue is to provide a covering or a lining. As mentioned earlier, the matrix is very less in epithelial tissue and high in connective tissue. So I am drawing here the group of cells which are tightly packed with less intercellular matrix, and these cells are lying on a membrane known as the basement membrane. So there is a cell, okay, there's a layer of cells and there's a layer of basement membrane which is a non-cellular layer. This again has two layers in it, one the basal lamina and the other is the reticular lamina. So the basal lamella is on the base of the cells, okay, which is closer to the cells, and the reticular lamina is closer to the underlying tissue. And as mentioned earlier, these cells have a free surface which face either the body fluid, that is the extracellular fluid ECF, or the outside environment. This is all about the cells of epithelium. Epithelial tissue, there are two types, simple and compound. Simple, we mean there is a single layer of cells. The main function is lining. Simple epithelium forms the lining of body cavities, ducts and tubes. Whereas compound epithelium, there are more than one layer. There are more layers of cells. And the main function is protection. So lining for simple epithelium, protection for compound epithelium. So these cells have certain structural modifications. Based on that, the simple epithelium can be classified into squamous, cuboidal and columnar. Squamous, we mean the cells are flat. Cuboidal, as the name suggests, the cells are cube-like, and columnar, you know how a column looks, isn't it? They are tall and slender. So first let's look at the squamous epithelium. Squamous epithelium is also known as the pavement epithelium as their cells are flat. Cells are comparable to the tiles present on the pavement, so it has got an alternate name. So this layer, as I told you, is a thin layer of flat cells, and the boundaries of cells are irregular. So these are mainly found in walls of blood vessels and air sacs of lungs, that is the alveoli. So these cells mainly take up the function of diffusion, that is where exchange of substances happen, where filtration occurs, that is where this simple epithelium is present. Now talking about the cuboidal epithelium, I told you it is made up of cube-like cells which are found in ducts of glands and tubular parts of nephrons in kidney. By tubular parts of nephrons in kidney, we are referring to the PCT and DCT. They comprise the tubular parts of nephrons. And ducts of glands like gonads and thyroid follicles. Okay, these are where cuboidal epithelium is present. So when I say ducts of gland, we are referring to small ducts, not the large one. Okay, the small ducts of glands have cuboidal epithelium. And the functions in which cuboidal epithelium is associated is secretion and absorption. I told you about PCT of the kidney. Yes, it has villi in it for increasing the. Yes, so we know the three steps of urine formation: glomerular filtration, selective reabsorption, and tubular secretion. So PCT is the main place where selective reabsorption takes place, reabsorption of essential nutrients like glucose. So for that we have microvilli present. So this gives the appearance of brush bordered cuboidal epithelium. Next, talking about columnar epithelium, as I already mentioned, they have tall slender cells and their nuclei, they are located at the base. Nuclei is oval in shape and they are located at the base of the cell. The free surface can have microvilli, okay, like that of the cuboidal epithelium. And where are they found? They are found in stomach, the lining of stomach and intestine. So intestine, we know, especially the small intestine, where maximum absorption of nutrients occurs, isn't it? So there again there is microvilli present in the small intestine. So this gives the appearance of brush bordered. So where is brush bordered cuboidal epithelium present? It is present in PCT of nephron in the kidney, whereas brush bordered columnar epithelium is present in the small intestine. Understood? Why? To facilitate secretion and absorption. So both cuboidal epithelium and columnar epithelium, their function is to facilitate secretion and absorption. Columnar epithelium is also found in places like the bronchi, respiratory tract and oviduct or the fallopian tube. In such places, the free surface has cilia in them, which forms the ciliated epithelium. Okay, so note, ciliated epithelium can be made up of columnar or cuboidal cells which bear cilia on their free surfaces. That is, by free surface we mean away from the basement membrane. So the main function of cilia is to move the particles or mucus in a specific direction, particular direction over the epithelium. They are mainly found in inner surface of hollow organs like bronchioles and fallopian tubes. So in bronchioles and fallopian tubes. So in bronchi, remember, there is ciliated columnar epithelium. So in bronchioles and fallopian tubules, ciliated epithelium is present. So remember. Next type of epithelium. Yeah, so before that, don't get confused. Ciliated columnar epithelium is found in the bronchi, whereas ciliated cuboidal epithelium is found in bronchioles. And fallopian tube, ciliated columnar epithelium is present. So remember, don't get confused. And brush bordered epithelium is found in PCT and intestine. PCT, there is cuboidal brush bordered, and small intestine has the columnar epithelial tissue. So remember, don't get confused. And same way about bronchi and bronchioles. Yeah, so next type is the glandular epithelium, in which the columnar or cuboidal cells get specialized for secretion. So the main function is secretion. So glandular epithelium again can be either columnar or cuboidal cells. These glandular epithelium can be of two types, either unicellular or multicellular. Unicellular, very popular example is the goblet cells which secrete mucus which is present in the alimentary canal. Yes, they are single celled glandular epithelium. It can also be multicellular. Example, there are many multicellular glands, but goblet cells, they are the only unicellular glands which secrete mucus. So remember these examples. So this is one way of classifying the glandular epithelium. Next way of classifying the glandular epithelium is the mode of sporing, how they secrete their secretions. On this basis, they are divided into exocrine and endocrine glands. Exo means outside and endo means inside, isn't it? Just by the name. So exocrine glands, they secrete mucus, saliva, earwax, oil, milk. Yes. So we know the mammary glands which secrete milk and the sebaceous gland which secrete the sebum, oil, isn't it? So these glands are secreting their secretions outside, exo. So it is secreting into a duct or tubule, not directly into the fluid. Whereas endocrine glands, they are ductless glands, and the product of these glands are called hormones. These, since they are ductless, they are secreted directly into the surrounding fluid. Okay. Next, we have completed with all types of simple epithelium. Now we move on to compound epithelium. As I told you earlier, it is made up of more than one layer, and it has a limited role in secretion and absorption, because secretion and absorption is the main function of simple epithelium, that too particularly columnar epithelium and cuboidal epithelium. Main function of compound epithelium is protection, covering and lining. So remember PCL. This is a trick to remember the functions of compound epithelium. PCL, protection, covering and lining. They protect against the chemical and mechanical aberrations. They provide a covering over the dry surfaces of skin, okay, and moist surfaces of buccal cavity, pharynx and so on. So there are many dry surfaces in our body as well as moist surfaces. For both these surfaces, they act as a covering, and they provide a lining for large ducts. Remember, ducts of salivary glands are pancreatic ducts. These ducts are large. Unlike in cuboidal epithelium, we saw that cuboidal epithelium forms the lining of large ducts, of small ducts, I told you. So in dry surfaces we have keratinized epithelium, and moist surfaces we have non-keratinized epithelium. So keratin is a substance which gives the waterproof nature for the tissue. So dry, we mean there is keratin, it is waterproof, and moist, it is obviously surface is moist, yes, so it cannot be moist, it cannot be waterproof. So definitely it is non-keratinized epitheliums. Understood? So I told you about protection and covering and lining. When it comes to lining, remember, small ducts, it has the small ducts are lined by cuboidal epithelium. I gave the examples of gonads and thyroid follicle. In gonads, the cuboidal epithelium forms the layer called germinal epithelium, whereas large ducts, okay, the lining of large ducts like salivary glands and pancreatic ducts, they are all comprising of the compound epithelium. Yeah, so be careful. So another new term I told you here is that the keratinized and non-keratinized. Keratinized is the one covering the dry surfaces like hair, skin and nail, and non-keratinized, we mean it is covering the moist surfaces like the buccal cavity, the larynx, the pharynx and the vagina. So this is all about the different types. Now let's have a quick recap of the different types in the form of a tabular column. So simple squamous epithelium, where are they present? They are present in blood vessels, the lining of blood vessels, alveoli and peritoneum, and they are also found in Bowman's capsule. So lining of blood vessels is also known as endothelium, a new word here. So remember, endothelium is something related to the blood vessels. So remember, and how are the cells present? They are flat with irregular boundary, pavement epithelium, remember. So the main function of the epithelial simple squamous epithelium is to facilitate diffusion, exchange of materials and filtration. So the nucleus of simple squamous epithelium is central spherical. Okay, next coming to cuboidal epithelium, they are present in tubular parts of kidney, that is the PCT, DCT and small duct walls, isn't it? So ducts of gonads and thyroid follicles, and the cells are cube-like. The main function is absorption and secretion. So remember in PCT that there is brush bordered epithelium, that is the free surface has microvilli, and in DCT the cuboidal epithelium is simple, okay, no microvilli or cilia are present. Now coming to columnar epithelium. Columnar epithelium, where are they present? They are present in small intestine in the form of brush bordered epithelium, and they are found in the upper respiratory lining. Upper, by this we mean they are bronchi, okay, whereas bronchioles has ciliated cuboidal epithelium. Bronchi has ciliated columnar epithelium to facilitate movement of mucus, okay, in a specific direction. That is the role of cilia. And the cells are tall and slender, and again they mainly facilitate absorption and secretion just like the cuboidal cells. And talking about the nuclei, they are special because they are not central, they are present at the base and they are oval in shape. Next, talking about stratified. But stratified is nothing but nothing but compound. That is, they are made up of more than one layer of cells. They have many layers of cells. Okay, there are two types of this: keratinized and non-keratinized. Yes, non-keratinized is present in moist surfaces like lining of mouth or the buccal cavity, the larynx, the pharynx, and the vagina, where the main function is to protect. Okay, it serves for protection. Next type of cells is pseudo-stratified columnar cells. So pseudo-stratified means what? Pseudo means false, stratified means many layered. So false many layered. So what do we mean by this? So it is actually single layered but appears as multi layered because of the placement of the cells. Okay, so pseudo stratified epithelium is similar to the columnar epithelium. Okay, they have tall slender cells. Yes, but all the cells, they are not of the similar height. The cells are present at different heights, like this, the one which I am drawing. So eventually even the nuclei are placed at different heights. So where are these pseudo stratified epithelium present? They are present in the trachea. Okay, in trachea, it is the trachea is lined by pseudo stratified epithelium, columnar ciliated epithelium, because we know in trachea the cilia helps in the movement of mucus in a particular specific direction. So understood, this is very important and this is a previous year question. Pseudostratified epithelium is also present in urethra, epididymis and vas deferens. Okay, but here they are not ciliated. It is non-ciliated pseudostratified columnar epithelium. Whereas in trachea there is pseudostratified columnar ciliated epithelium. So remember, note the difference. And there is another type of special epithelium known as the transitional epithelium or the urothelium. Urothelium means modified to stretch. Okay, it lacks basement membrane. So remember, every epithelium possesses a basement membrane except the transitional stratified epithelium. Important. So just you know that I just told you that transitional epithelium is modified to stretch. That is, it can contract or expand as per required. Okay, so we know that one place where this can be present is the urinary bladder. Okay, when the urinary bladder is full with urine, it expands and it can also contract. Yes, when we release urine, when the urine is out, it contracts to release the urine out. So this is present in the urinary bladder. And next is the keratinized epithelium. I told you keratin is for is nothing but to provide a waterproof surface, that is in dry surfaces like skin, hair and nail. It is mainly for protection against abrasion. Alright. So these are all the different types of epithelia. Okay, now we talk about cell junctions. Cell junctions are specialized junctions which provide structural and functional links. Understood? Structural and functional links between the cells. So let's look at the types of cell junctions. First is the tight junction. Tight, so it is not going to prevent it is not going to allow any leakage, so it holds the substances inside tight. So Just by the name, we know that tight junctions prevent leakage of substances across the tissues. So, where can these be possibly present? Yes, it can be present in the duct walls. So, tight junctions are made up of proteins called occludin. Okay, so it has got a name, zona occludens. Tight junction is also known as zona occludens. Next type of junction, cell junction, is the adhering junction. Adhering means cementing. Okay, connecting together. Yes, it helps in keeping the cells together. So this is present in cardiac muscles, and since they have the protein adherin in them, they are also known as macular adherins. The third type of cell junction is gap junction. Gap junction helps in communication of the cells by connecting the cytoplasm of adjacent cells. So when the cytoplasm of adjacent cells get connected, it allows rapid transfer of ions, small molecules, and sometimes, that is rarely, big molecules in them. So, gap junctions are nothing but cytoplasmic channels which allow movement of substances, which allow communication between the cells. So, these gap junctions are present in cardiac muscles again and in single unit smooth muscles. So there are two types of smooth muscles, single unit smooth muscles and multi-unit smooth muscles. So I will tell you what they mean in later sessions. Just for now, remember that cytoplasmic channels, that is gap junctions, are found in single unit smooth muscles. Adhering junctions are also known as desmosomes in animals, and gap junctions are also known as plasmodesmata in plants. Remember, in the chapter Cell, the Unit of Life, I had talked about plasmodesmata. Yes, plasmodesmata connects the cytoplasm of adjacent cells. So, what is the role of middle lamella? It helps in connecting the cell wall of adjacent cells. So remember, know the clear differentiation of plasmodesmata and middle lamella. So plasmodesmata is an example of gap junction and desmosomes is an example of adhering junction. So this was all about the topic tissues, and we have only talked about epithelial tissue and the different types of cell junctions. So more about the other types of tissues like connective tissue we will see in the next lecture. So until then, thanks for watching, stay tuned and subscribe to the channel if this helped you in your revision. All the best.